Welcome everyone to this month's Distinguished Sales Speaker Series. I'm very excited to have you here. We took a little twist on what we normally do this month, and because the summer means it's time to get outside, it's time to take vacations, we know that it's tough to sign up for an event and be there and sit behind your computer. So we thought this month we would go ahead and make our monthly sales event an on-demand resource. And helping us today, I'm very excited to welcome Holly Sunderman. Holly is a friend of the university in many ways. She not only graduated with a Master of Business Psychology from Franklin, she's also serving on our Sales Education Advisory Council and is on the Master of Business Psychology Committee. So she brings with her 10 years in global packaging sales at multi-billion-dollar companies in a $40 million territory. She was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, graduated from the University of Kentucky with a BS in Business Management in Spanish. And then, as I said, went on to earn her Master of Business Psychology and graduated back in 2017. So with that, I want to say, Holly, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this. I'm very passionate about it, obviously. My involvement with the university speaks to that. So I'm very excited to talk about that today.
Well, great. Well, we're going to jump right in, and because we don't have members joining us live, our attendees joining live, if we have some questions, I'll throw them in if something naturally comes up, but we'll go ahead and jump right in. One of the things that I found interesting was you took the Master of Business Psychology program as somebody who was intimately involved with sales. And there was something about that you saw that sort of brought together the idea of psychology and education as it pertained to your job. So talk to me about what made you pull that plug?
Well, I was fortunate enough to meet with Dr. Forbes early on, who is the pioneer for business psychology at Franklin in particular. And the way that he kind of described it to me was, what you think you'll get from an MBA program is what you'll get in this program. And that's not to discount anything that you get from an MBA. It's a wonderful thing to have a wonderful program at Franklin. But I think what business psychology really focuses on is how to apply the psychology of doing business in your everyday life and how to really interact with people, collaborate with people, and influence people, which is our primary job, and everybody is influenced and motivated by different things. And this program really focuses on using different tools and different models to figure out how to best influence others and sell effectively. So, I didn't glean all of that during my first meeting. But it was enough for me to stop and think, what do I really want to get out of this program, particularly with future leadership in mind, which has an element of sales, obviously, too. You have to worry about how others are motivated, how to develop people and to make sure that they're going to be the best representation of the sales force for your business. So it was a perfect meeting right at the right time, the perfect time in my career. And it absolutely went above and beyond my expectations for what I expected to get from the program.
So talk to me a little bit about, there's something that you said in there about, even leadership. And I've often had people tell me, I said, oh, I would never want to be in sales. And then they go, but you are in sales. And I think about, people often misunderstand what sales is and how you really do sales in every setting. Talk about how have you successfully applied what you've learned in that business psychology program in your practical setting, in your everyday setting?
I use it all the time. And I think people are really afraid of learning models and things like this and then feeling manipulative, like they're trying to sell you. And obviously nobody likes to be sold and feel like you're getting messed with or, that your intentions aren't genuine. So I think that what I learned from this program is that there are ways to authentically and genuinely use these tools to communicate with people and ensure that you're really providing them with the servant leadership that you're trying to, leading by example and being there for people to ultimately just solve a problem. So I use that in my everyday life and all of my relationships. But it's definitely something that I've applied to my communication with my customers now in my new role, in my communication with my vendors, and frankly with my managers, and leadership, because, I think people frequently assume that salespeople are motivated by money and that's it. And that's as deep as it goes. And I find that not only is that not true, it's certainly not true of different age groups. It's certainly not true for women, a lot of women. And while obviously making money is great, it's not what ultimately primarily motivates people. So, there were a lot of different tools and things that I learned in this program that I apply to kind of ground me and remind me of why people do what they do. And, the thing that I use the most often is the scarf model, David Rock's scarf model, and thinking in every communication I have, what is motivating people to say and do what they're doing. So, for me, autonomy, the A in scarf, is very important. I want to be in charge. I want to be responsible for my own business. I want to mostly be left alone. I want to be trusted. And that's really important to me. And it is more important to me than money. So, when I talk to my boss about what I need, what I'm looking for, and have that conversation openly, there's no assumptions made or anything like that, then it's very easy for us to talk about things that are bothering me or things that are slowing me down, or things that they can do to better support me, and vice versa, because they're motivated by things too. And what do I need to do to communicate better with you? What do you need to communicate better with your leaders from me? So just understanding the motivation and the intention behind what people do is sales in every aspect of life. And I guess just finally, to your earlier point, that people have kind of a misconception about what sales is. And when I started in business school, when I, started my first job out of college, I never in a million years thought I would be in an industrial setting, manufacturing, in sales, because my idea of sales was you're automatically selling something people don't want. Like, you picture the dictionary salesperson knocking on door, and it's just not like that. The successful people are able to sell themselves all the time. They do it when they find the person they want to marry. They do it when they want to get that job that, they've been dreaming of forever. So I think this gave me a really different perspective on what sales is and how to use it in my everyday life and more effectively in my job.
Well, you just segued perfectly into a question I had.
That was on purpose, Jerry.
Thank you. One of the new definitions I've heard of somebody in sales is that you are a partner in problem solving. And one of the best ways to, quote, sell somebody is to say, excuse me, I understand what you're going through. I think I have a solution for you, and let's become a partner. Let's attack it together. How does your master's in business psychology help in that problem solving?
I think the emotional intelligence is kind of the foundation of business psychology, and that's definitely something that you learn all about in this program. From leadership style, followership style, what motivates people, and just understanding the best way to partner with people so that they can solve their problems. And in my current role, I'm actually called a packaging consultant, and that is because the expectation is that you partner with your customers and your vendors too, to kind of problem solve together and make sure that you're understanding each other. There's no value discrepancy, and you can communicate intelligently, and understand from an emotional standpoint what your customer needs, and provide that partnership to problem solve whatever they need, and do it quickly, because people want that. They want to know that you're there for them. They want to know that they're important and that you can be there to problem solve, because that's the toughest part of most people's jobs.
And I think you brought up a really good point. I think the misperception of sales is shoving some product at someone who doesn't need or want it. And that's not sales. Sales is really, if you're aligning your business with your target customer, you are looking at somebody that says, I have a need for what you have. I don't know how to use it, or I don't even realize that what you have could solve my problem. I'm not just making you buy something that's going to sit in a corner. I'm giving you something that's going to make your life and your job easier, or solve a situation you're with. It's that understanding more than just the numbers of business. It's understanding the human side. And you said something earlier about how the MBA and the business psychology, there's a difference. And the MBA is an outstanding program, and it really focuses on the data analytics and the understanding that sort of analytical side of business. But in sales, you have to take that a step further, and you have to understand how to get to the people that you need, how to talk to the people. We often talk about how if you're selling something, you might have to, if it's at a high enough level, talk to the chief financial officer. They talk a very different language than the purchasing person. And so you need to be able to read that person. So talk to me a little bit about that human side.
Yeah, I think, buyers and sellers think very differently. And so to your earlier point, selling is not coming to somebody and forcing a solution on them. It's uncovering the intrinsic need that they have. And the business psychology program expounds upon that and allows you ways to find out what that is, ways to communicate around it, ways to see it, and ways to ask for it. So, I think that's a huge difference in the business psychology program. And that's not to say that they don't go into financial, components of sales, because that's important as well, obviously. But they definitely focus more on how do you uncover the intrinsic need? How do you dig deeper and figure out what the human element is of sales and cater to that? Because we are everyone's person at the end of the day. We all are dealing with a lot of the same problems. And, since the pandemic hit, even more so, it's been a little bit of an equalizer in that way. So I think that this program really prepared me for understanding the human element, extending that empathy, being emotionally intelligent about a situation, knowing if you're making someone uncomfortable, knowing if somebody isn't understanding what you're saying, and how to gracefully approach that and help them to understand what you're saying, and bridge that value discrepancy, because you do want to make sure that you're on the same page. And if you're not, then it's never going to be effective selling in that relationship. So
have you, I'm going to throw an out of bounds question at you that we didn't talk about earlier. Have you had a situation where, COVID has caused a lot of different issues on many different levels, emotional, supply chain, across the board. Have you had a particularly difficult situation arise over the course of the last 2 years that you've had to really pull, that sort of interpersonal piece along with your problem solving, along with just, at the end of the day, it's great I want to be your friend and I want to solve your problem. But at the end of the day, as somebody in sales, you have a job to do as well. And so there's your end of it. Has there ever been a time where that was really hard and you really really faced a challenge and were able to bring all of this that you have talked about together to overcome it?
I feel like kind of every day for the last 2.5 years. But I think something that stands out to me where there was such a human element involved is that I felt like the nature of a certain customer relationship I had was very transactional. It was, I need this, I give you this, you need this, I give you this, and so on. And that worked for a while, until my buyer's daughter had a serious health situation. And she needed to travel for it. They weren't really sure what was going on. She was very afraid, and she was a single parent. So she was just dealing with a lot. And I realized that wasn't going to work anymore for her to be able to do her job, and really for me to be able to do mine. And I kind of embraced the packaging consultant role in that relationship more than I had before, because it was her human need for me to step up and do that, and I care about her on a personal level and all of that. And we're friends to this day, but it was more about being the type of seller that she needed me to be in that situation, they were dealing with their own issues, obviously supply chain, labor, transportation, and all that. And we're dealing with it on our side. But, before that, we had this certain expectation that I would have their forecast and we would be able to work around that. Well, she wasn't able to do that at that time. And so I kind of jumped in, made sure that I was working with other people. We had a more collaborative approach. We communicated differently, and coming from a place of empathy at all times, even if you're frustrated or confused or the communication is lagging or whatever, understanding that makes that job so much easier, and it gets you through it a lot more quickly. If you fight it and you expect people to always meet you where you are, you get left waiting there more frequently than not. So that was one where I just feel like I changed my role significantly in the relationship, and it paid off. We got more business from it. I have a friend from it, and it was just what I needed to do for my company, for my business, and for them as a partner. So
That was great. I mean, I think as I'm thinking through our conversation, the talking points for me, if you will, are the idea of emotional intelligence and meeting people where they are. Again, not saying, I don't know you, but I'm coming in and I have this to sell you, and I have this approach, and this is what's going to happen, because that's never going to be successful. So thank you for that insight. In fact, it's that insight, which is why we asked you to be on our Sales Education Advisory Council. When we had our alumnus come to us and say, I run a very successful business, but I'll tell you, I have people who need sales education, not sales training, excuse me, because sales training is that rah, and you'll leave there and you'll be motivated for 2 days, and then you go right back into your rut, if you will. He saw a need for, we need to have sales education. So we brought together a group of folks who came from different backgrounds, different years of experience, and brought everybody together and said, this is what we're thinking. What do you see a need for? And we have folks from insurance, manufacturing, across the board. One was actually in sales as well, leading a sales company. And it's been interesting to see the feedback of, this is what we see lacking. And without a doubt, it's the combination of psychology, data analytics, and that emotional intelligence that have made, I think, what we're putting together a very different program than what we've seen at other locations. So
absolutely.
Talk to me about why you wanted to be a part of why you accepted my invitation to be on our council.
I think you made a really good distinction between sales training and sales education. And in my experience, companies love to talk about how much money they've invested in their salespeople in sales training, right? And this is something we have to show, and this is the way that we're showing that we value salespeople. When in reality, it's not actually catering to what salespeople need, and what's going to help them succeed, what's going to help them grow, and what shows them that they really do have the support. And it is bridging that gap between training and the rah, as you said, and kind of forcing different tactics on people, versus using different models or using different tools, different things to understand yourself better, because you're 50% of that relationship, and understanding your role and how pivotal it is and how influential it really is, from your behavior to your mindset to your communication style to your followership style, leadership, all of that. That's the critical difference between sales training and sales education. And I think putting your arms around sales education is a challenge. It's really difficult to put a name to certain things and to really explain how to take that on to other people. When you think about salespeople, you think, oh, they either got it or they don't. And there might be an element of truth to that, in the sense that you need to be social and you need to be motivated and you need to be, relatively organized and self-motivated, all that. But the self-awareness is not always there. And understanding what motivates other people, and using different tools and models. I use the SCARF model as an example, but David Hoffeld's Selling with Science is an incredible tool that, we've brought into this program to talk about ways that you can immediately apply different small tweaks to your style that will ultimately yield results. So, all of that to say, this program is such an amazing opportunity and kind of a trailblazer in its space to really bring awareness to what sales education is, to motivate people to be in sales who might have a misconception about it, and use all of the cutting edge things that are coming out about selling with science and neuroscience and emotional intelligence and psychology and all that, and bringing it all together in one space. So this is a very unique opportunity, and I definitely learned something from it every day, and I wouldn't have passed it up. So
well, thank you. And I think it's funny, one of the things I have found from multiple members on our council is a lot of organizations, they bring their sales team in, and their training is not sales training at all. It's actually product knowledge training. And so there is an inherent assumption there that says your personality is going to carry you. That thing that made me hire you is going to carry you. So as long as we teach you all about this widget, you're going to be able to go out and sell it, because you're going to take them to dinner and you're going to be their buddy and you're going to do A, B, and C. And I think sales has dramatically changed over the last 10 years as so much data is available now. I mean, you meet somebody and you know their entire life history before you walk in the room. If you do your research, and you know everything about their organization and what they need and what they don't even realize they need. But having that knowledge and knowing how to bridge it to make it successful with your self-awareness, your awareness of them, is a science. And there's a lot to it. And it's more than just knowing somebody's annual revenue numbers and knowing that they are married with 3 kids. There's a lot more. And so I think I personally didn't know. I think I tell everybody this, I always think Glenn Ross was my idea of sales. It's that you're not, you haven't earned a cup of coffee yet. And it's not that. It's a really interesting and dynamic field that I think there are some people who are really, there are some people who, could sell you sand if you were standing on a beach. And there are others who learn to do that because they understand all of these dynamics. And I think sales covers every industry, whether you're in PR, whether you're writing code in a dark room somewhere, you still have to sell that code to somebody. So understanding all of the dynamics that go into it, and letting people know that if you're not born with it, you don't have to be born with it. There are tools and models, to your point, that can help you bridge that gap. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the insight you've given. I'm excited for having you do this today. Thank you. It's there's so many different topics to talk about in sales. And I think one of the things that we sometimes get away from is there is such a big human element to it. But that human element isn't, oh, she's nice and she has a great personality. It's your self-awareness and your ability to be empathetic and emotionally intelligent about the person you're working with. So,
and that doesn't stop at the individual. I think it's really easy to say that's the responsibility of the salesperson because that's what I hired them to do, and that's as far as it goes. But I've had experience in multiple spaces where that's the expectation, and there's very little support for salespeople because that's as far as it goes, because that's that applies to you and not really anybody else because we're not in sales. But when you have an experience with a true sales organization, they understand that that's just the first layer. That's just, that's table stakes to get a meeting or to, make connections with people or what have you. Behind that is a huge support system for salespeople, knowing that these tools are out there that need to be brought to them. There are mentorship programs that they can implicate, and everybody can learn from these people who've seen wild success and have learned things over 30, 40-year careers. So I think that there are different mindsets about sales, and this is something that doesn't just apply to individuals and just people who want to sell. I think that, leaders of salespeople, leaders of large organizations, small organizations can take something from this program because they have a better awareness and an understanding of what salespeople need and what sales organizations need to be successful and, financially to see growth. So I think that that's a huge takeaway from this program as well, is that it doesn't just stop at the individual.
It's great insight. I do have one question. Shauna is asking, the evolution of the sales industry has been transformed immensely over the past 2 years. If you had to pick one emerging trend or tool for someone just coming into a sales role to use or research, what would that be? And what's your go-to sales resource?
Oh my gosh.
Do you have a go-to sales resource?
I guess I don't. I have a mentor who I rely on really heavily. And I think that that's the best way to learn, is through those interpersonal communications, talking through scenarios, knowing what hasn't worked for them. So much of sales is learning by failure. And that's a hard thing to swallow for a lot of salespeople, because there's an element of ego involved always, regardless of how you really feel about yourself. There's always this element of, you don't want to be rejected, you don't want to fail or do anything wrong, but there's so much to be learned from doing it wrong and hearing it from people who have also done it wrong. So, for me, he's my biggest resource right now. But I think for people who want to get into sales or who are exploring to see whether or not that's a good fit for them, I think looking for a sales education program is a good start. Franklin's awesome because it's virtual, can be, a lot of the resources are virtual. We have our distinguished speaker series where you just have these little, 1 hour kind of blurbs about a specific topic. And there's always something that can be taken away from that, or applied to a situation that you're in or your style or whatever. So I think just really looking at the education piece and not focusing on the training so much. And I have to learn everything about this product. And, I'm not going to be any good at that because I don't know anything about X, Y, and Z. You have to decide if you want to be a salesperson or not if you want to sell this product or not. So I think that would be the mindset that I would recommend. And then just looking for free resources, and there's dozens of books out there. David Rock's book is awesome. David Hoffeld has 2 great books that I refer to frequently just because there's a lot of neuroscience involved, and data to support what they're saying. So I refer to those quite a bit. But I'm learning something all the time from everybody that I work with, especially now. So yeah.
Well, thank you. That's, I agree with Shauna. It's a great response. Thank you. Well, with that, I'm not going to open it up to the audience because we are the audience today, since this is an on-demand resource, but I want to thank you for sharing your time and, most importantly, your insight. You come to the table with a great wealth of knowledge and insight, and I appreciate that. And it's interesting to see how you've seen your own, talk about self-awareness, how you've seen your own development and how you recognized there's a need for this, so I'm going to learn this, and then how it all sort of triangulates together into your day-to-day life. So thank you for that. I want to thank all those who are watching this on demand for taking time to listen to our podcast today. Please make sure, if you like today's podcast and you haven't been able to listen to any of our other events, please feel free to go to our sales education page. You'll see there is a whole list under the distinguished sales speakers section of pre-recorded events that we've had over the last almost 1.5 years now. So with that, I'm going to say, Holly, thank you so much. Aaron and Shauna, thank you for joining us today. And for all of our attendees, thank you for taking time out to learn a little bit more about sales today.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.